Righto, go.
Part 2, Ralph Potter, Punting Melbourne Style. So, last week you were flying solo, I had an RDO. By the way, what is it about school fees that the more you pay, the more days off they get? Anyway, so you made a point that it's not just about your winning result, even though it's about your winning result, it's all about your processes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you had a real good day at Sandown, by that much, but you could have seen them just as well and it could have gone the other way, like with payroll.
Yeah, like I actually was reasonably happy with my set at Ballarat on Saturday. Yeah. The results just didn't fall for us. So creativity would have been a huge result. We didn't miss out by much in the first race. Yep. Tiger Tim would have been a really big result. So I mean, there's a number of results. If they just sort of fall slightly differently, you know, you have a pretty good day. But the point is that I was making on last week's video is to put yourself in those positions as regularly as possible, and then there's the rub of the green will find you.
Yeah,
that was my point.
So I had the most ridiculously good Oaks day. It almost was the lot. But I knew I wasn't that good because other things hadn't gone my way. And the result, an example being Villamont. I was complete shoulders back on the middle day at Caulfield.
Yeah,
gets beaten due to a race shape and probably mightn't have been its best on the day. But the Sandown Guineas Day proved that it was the right horse. It still doesn't mean it's going to go your way all the time because various things can happen, and we're talking about live animals. And the reason I brought that up, just got a little paragraph here. Have you heard of the Undoing Project?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, you'd love it. Michael Lewis wrote about Amos Tversky and Danny Kahneman, two very smart thinkers. Just read you this because both Amos and Danny thought that voters and shareholders and all other people who live with the consequences of high-level decisions, well, we make decisions, don't we, might come to develop a better understanding of the nature of the decision-making. They would learn to evaluate a decision, prediction, not by its outcomes, whether it turned out to be right or wrong, but the process that led to it. Mm-hmm. The job of a decision maker wasn't to be right, but to figure out the odds in any decision and play them well. As Danny told audiences in Israel, what was needed was a transformation of cultural attitudes to uncertainty and risk.
You know, that's absolutely, that's horse racing. That could be completely referred to horse racing.
That's the
whole nature of the game is to understand the probabilities of certain outcomes, and try and turn the advantage to your favour.
Yeah.
So if I simplify it to a coin toss, if you take $2.20 about a coin toss and then stake
coin
appropriately, do I do it backwards?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Coin toss.
Coin toss. I think that's the second time I've done that.
Archie show always bring that up.
Okay, so if you take $2.20 about a coin toss, and stake correctly, you'll win over time.
Yes.
Okay, the important parts to understand are that if you overbet that advantage, you will go broke, even though you've identified an advantage. And in racing, you've got to put in enough hard work to gain the confidence that you are taking $2.20 about a 50% outcome.
And just before we get to the emails, and it comes to a DK thing here. Be brutal in your post-race assessments of yourself. Mm-hmm. I was in August when Dan helped me with this. He said about I was identifying too many short price first up horses. They're all narrowly beaten, but they're the wrong type of horses to identify in August, particularly when fitness is, and we discussed this at the time. But sometimes part of the assessment can be, no, I found the right horse, luck just didn't go my way.
Yeah. And
you've got to cop that, because otherwise you go mad in this game.
Absolutely. And say, I'll put myself in that position again next week, and it'll turn my way.
I had a ripping day in Sandown Wednesday, which, by the way, we'll get to it, but by this much, almighty. Mark Sarah, what a gem, Brian, I'm with you.
Very good ride.
But by that much. If it hadn't gone the other way, well, I don't have a great day, but that's the caper. And by the way, did you know that an 8-year-old having its 65th start can run the fastest of his career? Tadai Tondo. Hello. What emails you got?
Oh, we just started on that subject, so let's feed into one. Like there was one email exchange I had with a subscriber. He wasn't really asking a question. We were just communicating. His name's Mitchell, and he was talking about that he just received his copy of Fortune's Formula, and one of the reasons he was reading it was to try and...
What is that?
Fortune's Formula is a book by William Poundstone, which is about it's a really good examination of the Kelly criteria, and just Kelly betting. Yeah. Right from the very start, when it was, back in the 1920s, to how it evolved and how different people have used it, and so on and so forth. And Mitchell was saying one of the things he was hoping to achieve was increase his skills, improve his skills on backing multiple runners in a race.
Right.
Okay, so in Kelly, in the initial or the first step of the evolution of the Kelly criteria, they were actually they were getting some information. So the broadcast of races was going out on a wire that was slightly delayed, and they were getting information slightly ahead of that broadcast, but it wasn't so perfect that it was 100% certain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just gave them an advantage over the market. So that is in that form of what they decided. Okay, we'll use that information to weight our bets. But what is the one way we can guarantee that our bank is never broken? And that's to back every horse in the race. You know,
right.
Weighted to how you've assessed the market, and
Yep.
you know, like if you think, because you've got this information on the wire that number 2's highly likely to win,
Yeah.
but so if you back every other horse in the race, you're always going to collect.
Right.
Okay, so like I'm not suggesting that to anyone. I'm just saying that's how the Kelly criteria started. So now, when I read all that chapter and went through it and thought about it and everything else, it occurred to me that in my assessment of horse racing, if I just look at one horse in a race, okay, and I mark it, let's say I mark it 6-4, so I'm saying it's got a 40% chance of winning the race. There's a far bigger chance of me making a mistake with one horse than there is with 3. So if in that same race, if I mark one horse 6-4, another horse 4-1, so I'm saying it's a 20% chance,
Yep.
and another horse 10-1, so I'm saying it's a 10% chance. So now I've got 70%. I'm saying there's a 70% chance of one of those 3 horses winning the race.
Yes.
I think the margin for error in that situation is I've narrowed the margin for error.
Yes.
Because if the 6-4 chance is not really 6-4, it's a 3-1 chance, so it's only 25%. A lot of that percentage is going to flow into those other 2 runners.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm saying the overall 70% is going to be quite close to the mark. So that's the way I've structured all of my betting. Around betting it, I back at least 50% of my market, and it usually involves 3 runners, because I think the more runners I include, each runner I include, I'm narrowing the margin for error.
Well, I mentioned Villamont on the middle day at Caulfield. What you're then saying, because Temple of Bell won the race, who went hard second.
Yeah.
Where I went wrong was not in assessing Villamont as the best horse in the race. It was in not keeping Temple of Bell inside in case Villamont something went wrong and something did go wrong with the race show.
So it's a perfect example, Ralph, because in that race, and it's about the approach. So you in that case, focused in on one horse.
Yep.
I think that horse was overbet.
Yep.
Okay, I marked it clearly on top.
Yep.
I can't remember what price I marked it. It was probably 2-1.
Yep.
Right, which I think, in hindsight, is probably about right.
Do you? Even that it's won the Sandown Guineas since?
Yep, because I think the other horses that could have won the race were very capable as well.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I'm saying in that race, I backed Temple of Bell.
Yep.
I had them a lot closer in the than the market did.
Yeah.
And I had, so I think I took upwards of $15 black sale that day.
Yeah.
And it marked at about $8.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a good horse.
So I'm saying that Villamont won the Sandown Guineas.
Yep.
But he only just got up in the last 50 metres to beat Black Sail.
Yep.
Which demonstrates that there was far too much between them
On that day.
on that day.
Yep.
So I'm saying, but that's just a situation where, you know, who's right and who's wrong doesn't really matter. The point is that because I'd included Villamont, Temple of Bell and Black Sail at
You were
Caulfield, I narrowed the margin for error, and it's a good example of what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So, I mean, but look, there's so many different ways to skin a cat in this game, and different ways are going to suit different people. But that's just my view on backing multiple runners in a race. I think it does narrow the margin of error. How are we going there? We've got plenty of time. So another question we had from a good subscriber is Cayenne. He was specifically talking about another service that he gets, a New South Wales-based service, where the messages go out at 9 o'clock and the prices can collapse because I'm guessing that their horse is out of the market.
Yep.
And if there's enough subscribers to a service, that'll happen. And how do you handle it? How do you handle it when a price shortens dramatically? I would say to Cayenne and the punters in general that one of the things that gets the most noise in our game is the price a horse was.
Yes.
Okay? So on Saturday, when they're giving all the price updates, or when they were doing the bull ring, which they're no longer doing, but they've got a replacement with their chief sponsor and all that sort of thing. They keep up there the initial opening prices, which would have been from Wednesday.
Yes.
I mean, what the price was on Wednesday, it's the most useless bit of information that you could possibly have. It's meaningless. It really doesn't have any meaning. The price at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning has some meaning.
I just had one thing. It's meaningless if the people giving it can't give it meaning. You know what
I sort of can see
what I'm saying is that if people can say the reason they come forward was for this reason, the reason it's holding its price is this reason, or the reason that now it's gone back out again is because the bigger players.
Yeah, we just said two things that do matter.
Yeah.
What does matter is where it is right now.
Yes.
Is that momentum continuing?
Yes.
Is it going to continue to shorten?
Yeah.
Or is it likely to drift? That's useful information, and why?
Yes.
Okay, so if a horse was, if someone that was, so that these days they're just using a computer-generated price, and they're adding a 30% margin and whacking them up, right? Yeah. So if for whatever reason there was a factor that the computer missed or whatever, and a horse went up 20 to 1, and in 2 seconds the new price is $9 because someone had $50 on it or whatever, right? It's meaningless. The point is, how much money is there for it currently at $9?
Yes.
Okay, and it's sort of, so let's use the Ballarat Cup as an example.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Garcia goes up at 2 to 1 right from the start.
Yeah.
Grey Line's 5 to 1 right from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even do the form for the race. I just looked at the race and went, well, I'm going to start building a position of Grey Line at $6.
Yeah.
Right, that's 5 to 1's too big a price for that horse.
Right.
It's got too many. It can't start that price.
Yes.
And once the big players can start betting, that price will shorten.
Yes.
No matter what the circumstances are. So on Saturday morning, the price was still $6. There was even some $6.50.
Yeah.
But it started to shorten. Now, as that price shortens, the fact that it's been $6 for 3 days is meaningless. This means that's how the initial pricing algorithms that they're using price the race. They added 30%, and they wanted to be protected on Mr. Garcia, so that's the way they put the market up. The point is this is the current price Grey Line, so let's say it was $4.50.
Yeah.
And how much money there is for it at the $4.50, and is it going to continue to shorten, or will it find a base and then bounce back out? Now, as it turned out, it shortened from that price and then just leveled out a little bit.
I don't want to level out, but if you see, I used to call it on Carnival the deadly V. Yeah. If you see it, just pick a number, 6s, mid-morning, 4.50. If it's back out to 6s or 6.50, you know what I mean? You still need that, as you say, it might get a level of support, but you need to see that. Otherwise, it's just a few overs players. It might have paraded shit, whatever. But you need to see that sustained in some way. Yeah,
no, absolutely. You see that day after day, the horses that, like after the MBLs have kicked in, a horse might be $14 or $15. One of the big teams will back it. Yeah. And if they do it with Top Sport, it'll be into $6. Everyone else will be $7 or $8. And then it'll slowly come back out, and it'll probably end up starting $11, right? Yeah. It happens race after race, but and they often win. So it just means that one of the big teams saw some value in the $14. That's what it means. That's all it means. But the conversation around that, all that matters, I would say to Cayenne, forget what price a horse was. Think about what price it is. Okay, that's what really matters. The price it is, and is it going to drift or firm or stay the same from that price, and what price has the product. So if whoever you're getting that information from, have they given you an assessed price so you can decide whether to back it or not? So I think they're the things you need to take into account.
Two very important points. It's near the 15-minute mark, and Gary's brought out some of the most sensational bits of lunch of all time, so I think it could be it.
No worries.
All the best. Cheers.